It's end times wars. World burning. No, those are just bags of concrete. It's getting there though. This and the world wars. What is that? I think it's like half the population has to die. Will be dying before it goes nuclear, and then another quarter after that or something. You never know. Iraq said it would start targeting U.S. troops if we got involved. And you wouldn't think we'd send a carrier group in to not get involved. So, it's definitely got escalation written all over it. China, Russia's buying drones from Turkey and Iran. But not from China. Buying munitions from North Korea. But they're not buying it from China. So China's stockpiling. And they're not stockpiling for no reason. They're stockpiling for a reason. So it's kind of like a build up to that. You'll have the what I would call the axis of reality. The China, Iran, and Russia. At least Russia, at least reality based. Versus the axis of lies, which is unfortunately the West, taken over by Satan. Anyways, this video is concrete. Doing that end one, but getting this far to these ones off camera. A little out a little this way, kind of. This was close to that, but it just kind of bowed the 2x out a little, so it's a little out of whack. Bolts every 2 foot. And then doing this one. Last one. Get a little thing. So wedges going on. Some wedges. So stone for a wedge right there. Got a lot of little wedges sitting around, might as well use them. Every 2 foot. Little bolt. Pretty much level, pretty much plumb. So I was going to be doing the awning as a separate thing, because initially I was just going to kind of leave it like this, half done, but I figured if I'm going with a second course, I might as well make it more proper, even though this will, if there's not, war, end of times wars, it's not end times, do up a third course, probably even a fourth course, because I want this at least 6 foot tall. Maybe I'll just probably won't use these forms. These will just be too old, and I'll probably get rid of them before then rather than have it. So maybe I'll do like a longer instead of 2 foot form. Maybe do a bigger one so I can get 6 foot. I'm 5'9", and with some shoes, 5'10", 5'11", and I don't want to be banging my head. So at least 6 foot, minimum 6 foot ceiling. With concrete, that's why I'm not taking this out. This would be, in that situation, this will be eventually backfilled. But in this one, what I'm going to be doing, what I decided on, is just incorporating the awning into it. So doing, treated, and then 2 foot centers, whole wall screening. Do some window screening, just kind of making this a screened-in porch, cutting down these trees, that tree, and that tree. Before I do the wood, once I got the concretes down, give this some more time to cure. Yeah, getting this far, and the video is actually doing that. That's it for this one.
When we are watching what occurred in Israel, and we talked yesterday about why I feel so different about this, and it occurred to me later that it's a spiritual war, purely spiritual. The war in Ukraine and Russia was a war I think our betters at the State Department pushed for territorial political reasons. This feels so spiritual, and I'm sure it feels spiritual for the people going through it. But listen to this. This is just amazing. Yesterday at 12:22 p.m., or roughly just before that, about noon, this is what came out of the Twitter accounts of the White House. Junk fees can add up to hundreds of dollars for working families. President Biden continues to call on Congress to pass the Junk Fee Prevention Act to stop unfair charges by hotels, airlines, cable and internet companies, and online ticket sellers. I wonder if the young people who were murdered by Hamas terrorists, purchased their tickets to that event online. And I wonder if that's the thought of their families, because there were Americans there. Wow, the junk fees. That's what came out of the White House the day they called the lid, because Joe Biden couldn't speak to the people for the entire day. So the importance of where we're at in spiritual realms is we have an opportunity right now where there are people saying no one's leading. No one's responding. They're watching what can only be regarded as pure, unadulterated acts of evil. The killing of babies. May God accept their souls. May God have mercy. The raping of young women next to the dead bodies of their friends. May God have mercy. God will be divorced from every conversation in the Mockingbird media, but not on AFR. Not here. This is a network that serves an audience of one and a family of many. You're part of that family. The audience of one is God. And we don't make any bones about that at this network. It's one of the reasons that, since we're just talking with Tim, I feel it a gift to be here. That's why the show's called The Disciples View. If I didn't have to have my name in it, I wouldn't. You make a donation at 877-616-2396. It's matched with $100. If you do 100, it's 200. Why not double your money today? And what you also propel, though, is the inability to be canceled. You guys, as part of this family, have made it difficult to cancel us, and that's really important. We'll talk tomorrow about another book that has been canceled, disappeared. And the book was doing very, very well. There's no reason for it to be canceled. I mentioned us having no leader. We don't. We have God, who's the ultimate leader. The battle is won. The war is won in Jesus. We know this, but many people don't. And so they're in fear. And factually speaking, we are very, very vulnerable, as we're going to hear in this clip. The people who run Joe Biden have left this country absolutely open to similar attacks.
151 people on the terror watch list have crossed our southern border. Given the fact that U.S. and Israeli intelligence did not pick up on this terrorist attack that happened in Israel, what is being done to lock down those individuals who now are somewhere in the United States?
I don't have any specific law enforcement actions to speak to today. Obviously, we monitor threats to our national security from inside and outside the country.
That was Martha McCallum on the network where Tucker Carlson used to work until he was canceled. John Kirby. Well, we don't have any specific law enforcement activities to speak to. Nearly 8 million people have crossed this border. Most of them disappeared since figurehead Biden was installed. And we're not going to hear in this the word of God. We're not going to hear that, of course, we're to be kind to migrants, to sojourners, as the Bible tells us, for we ourselves are sojourners in this world, and they're to follow our laws. That's not going to be a topic of conversation in the world. It will be here. Your donations make it possible for this to continue to be a God-centered network and to put God at the center of the news, as he should be at the center of everything. 877-616-2396. Remember, when you donate, another $100 comes in. Your money plus $100. And this might be a good time for the Anti-Defamation League to refocus on their mission rather than embracing the sexual left.
I'll be honest, I am angry. I am angry with the world that allowed the dehumanization of Israelis and sanitized the terrorism of Hamas. I must say, I love this show and I love this network, but I've got to ask, who is writing the scripts? Hamas? The people who did this, they are not fighters, Jonathan. They are not militants, and I'm looking right at the camera. They are terrorists. It is a barbarian who rapes and brutalizes women, who kills children in front of their parents and then brings them over to Gaza, who literally, we've heard all these reports, and we know these aren't just reports. These were filmed gleefully by the barbarians who committed these grotesque crimes.
That is the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt. He was on MSNBC. And MSNBC has done everything they can to, quote, contextualize the attacks. And to the ADL, come home. I'm speaking, yes, the ultimate home in Jesus. I'm also speaking, though, home to your mission. Welcome back to your mission. You've been utterly distracted by trying to cozy up to the sexual left and to the progressive movement, which is in fact regressive, and it's an anti-God movement. So welcome back to the mission of fighting real anti-Semitism. There is a book that was put out by one of the most sensible, experienced authors in the history of non-publishing, of non-fiction, and one of the most cited and experienced, well-regarded doctors in history until he became a dissident. It's a book by Dr. Peter McCullough and John Leake. That book has been disappeared by Amazon, but it's a weird thing in the way it happened. The book is called The Courage to Face COVID-19, Preventing Hospitalizations and Death While Battling the Biopharmaceutical Complex. It was sold directly on Amazon, published to them. It did so well. For almost 3 weeks in July of 2022, it was a top 100 seller across all categories, not just related to COVID or science, but across all categories. It had over 1,000 five-star reviews. In fact, the book did so well that Tony Lyons, a president and publisher of Skyhorse in New York, and I'm reading from from Peter McCullough's Substack, pardon me. John Leake from Skyhorse in New York graciously offered to bring out a special, handsome hardcover edition with a preface by U.S. presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy, who warmly endorsed the work. Suddenly, September 29th, Amazon disappeared the book. We've temporarily suspended your KDB account, that's the direct publishing account, because we found offensive content that violates our content guidelines in the title listed below, The Courage to Face COVID-19. John Leake reached out to Amazon 3 times. What was the offensive content? They didn't reply. They've never told him. Here's what their offensive content warning says at Amazon Publishing. We don't sell certain content, including content that we determine is hate speech, promotes the abuse or sexual exploitation of children, contains pornography, glorifies rape or pedophilia, advocates terrorism, or other material deemed inappropriate or offensive. John Lee points out that the book, 100 Days of Sodom by the Marquis de Sade, glorifies all of those things. It's available on Amazon. Last I checked, the Antifa Handbook is available on Amazon. Last I checked, Perverse Erotica is available on Amazon. Last I checked, there's groomer shirts available on Amazon. Someone told them to disappear the book. On AFR, your money, your donations make it possible for us to inform about books like this that are being disappeared. It makes it very, very difficult for us to be canceled. So your donation doesn't just help with the back end, that is the brave people who do the work, such as my friend Randy. Hope you'll pray for him. He's running things behind the scene. Man, he's dealing with some pain. I mean, talking medical pain. I hope you'll pray for him. Such as the expense of maintaining the towers. Right? Radio stations are not cheap to maintain, and of course to getting the word out in an uncancelable way. You can do this at 877-616-2396. Reminder that your donation, no matter what it is, will get a $100 addition to it. When you call in, ask about the premiums. 100 Bible questions and answers for families, indispensable, particularly as we use this moment in time to let the Lord work through us to bring people to the conclusion that human leadership is going to fail. Human leadership will become corrupt. It always has and it always will, because we're broken with the sin problem. And on the topic of cancelizing, being canceled, in this audio clip, a reminder that donations to AFR make sure that people who run Joe Biden do not get away with lying about their attacks on the rights of Americans under cover of COVID.
What was President Biden and OSHA's plan if 84 million Americans refused to comply with the vaccine mandate or show their papers?
That's categorically untrue. We didn't threaten anyone, and we didn't demand that anyone be fired.
Did forcing 2-year-olds to wear masks save lives? And who did the forcing?
Well, your department, or the Head Start, which is under your department, had a mask mandate until late last year for 2-year-olds and above, even outdoors. So can you point to any public health benefit of that policy?
Right. We never forced anyone to do anything because we don't have the jurisdiction or authority to do that.
Did you encourage states to adopt student vaccine mandates?
I do not encourage states to adopt student vaccine mandates. Where states...
Excuse me, sir. You said right here, not only do I support it, but I'm encouraging states to come up with a plan to make sure it happens. The title of the article is Education Secretary Backs Mandatory School COVID-19 Mandates. Mr. Parker, you're one of a number now of officials in this administration who has come before this committee and tried to tell us that 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4. Sitting in the chair that you're in now, the Secretary of Education testified, gave false testimony to this committee, denying that he had promoted a student vaccine mandate when he had done precisely that. Sitting in the chair that you're in now, the Secretary of Health and Human Services made one of the most outlandish statements ever entered into the congressional record, which is saying quite a lot, when he said, we never force anyone to do anything in relation to the widely discredited policy of forcing young children as young as 2 years old to wear masks. And now you come before us today, asked about one of the most sweeping abuses of power that we've seen, that was rebuked by the Supreme Court, and you tell us that we didn't demand that anyone be fired. So has there been some sort of memo going around? Why is the administration insistent on rewriting history?
All you have to do is read that rule, and you will see that it is not a vaccine mandate.
And it was lies. And they're attempting to overwrite history. The Department of Education, that was last guy was Douglas Parker, who heads OSHA, claiming that they don't have the ability to cause people to be fired. It's when companies like Amazon disappear books like John Leake's and Dr. Peter McCullough's, when Facebook continues to disappear articles that question the COVID injections, when YouTube double, triple, quadruple pledges to let the World Health Organization determine what is and is not true medical advice or true medical literature. We're in a world without truth. For many. Those of us who have the ultimate truth, for God is truth, God is light, we have an obligation as ambassadors of reconciliation, is what we are in Christ, ambassadors of reconciliation, to make sure that networks like AFR do not get canceled. Because this is listener driven, it's very difficult to cancel. You can participate in this. Get to 877, call 877-616-2396. Your donation today is instantly gets a $100 add-on. And please don't forget, you can sign up for automatic donations. That's so vital for organizations like this because it provides predictable cash flow. So the leaders of AFR can make strategic decisions, not living hand to mouth, but strategic decisions. It's vital that we tell truth about the pharmaceutical complex, and it is vital that we continue to do it. You may not know this, many people don't. A United States Senator is the only guy I know in the Senate who's actually had the temerity to talk about the number of Americans suddenly dying. You'll hear that. We'll get to that as we continue. I mentioned a few times the fact that in Scotland, there is a law that, if fully put in place, will criminalize you carrying a Bible. You'll be holding hate speech. It will be criminalized. We've seen, of course, the evil attacks in Israel all there's also this attack on the human body and on truth. Being uncancelable means this can't happen. I will never forget this. I'll never forget this. COVID first, when they first started using COVID for their ads, and that's firmly what I believed in, a test run in tyranny. There were two doctors from Bakersfield, California, who posted something on YouTube saying, none of this makes any sense, none of it matches up with what we're seeing, this is a massive overaction, it has nothing to do with saving lives. And they gave a press conference. They took questions from reporters. I saw that very, very early in the morning. And I tagged it for my producer, Alex. I said, Alex, we got to get this. Make sure we have this sound. He said, on it. And then he wrote back to me. He said, it just got disappeared from YouTube, trying another platform. And he went over to another video platform. He goes, Todd, it literally got taken down as I was recording it. Ultimately, he found it at a place called BitChute. We were able to have it and play it, but they were chasing that video down. In the United States of America, they were chasing down the video of two doctors explaining that none of this made any medical sense. They can't do that on AFR. They're going to have to try real hard. They'd have to try to bring the FCC to bear. And I believe God will protect this network because I believe God worked through the Wildman family to found this network. Your investment in the network is also an investment in being difficult to cancel. You can do that. You can do that now. Call right now at 877-616-2396. A special $100 gift is added to any donation you make. Consider a revolving donation, a monthly donation. Because there are people who are willing to speak truth, and in times of deceit, universal deceit, speaking truth is an act of bravery. A United States Senator talked about the record number of otherwise healthy American adults suddenly dying, clearly from the COVID shots, and the Mockingbird media was silent. AFR serves God and you. We will not be silent.
Never got to vaccines. So I want to talk about what we know about the vaccines that the media, the COVID cartel, is not conveying to the American public. The American public is not fully informed as they're making these decisions. Then I do want to try and move on to what's happened. Why is this information being withheld? What are the forces at play? And then finally, I really want to get into what information do we need. I'll just throw one out there. We've now heard of SADS, right? Everybody knows SIDS. Now we got SADS. I'd never heard of that. When all of a sudden it started being talked about in the news media and been suppressed really for months, these young people just dying on sporting fields, whatever. But now all of a sudden they got a term for it. I'm reading the reports. And as always, in the reports, you go, medical experts are completely baffled. What could possibly be happening? These things started in the year 2021. I mean, are you kidding me?
That was Senator Ron Johnson. SAD stands for Sudden Adult Death Syndrome. A United States senator detailed that, talked about the mechanisms, had a panel of doctors and immunologists and biologists showing images of clogged arteries post-injection, and that never made it into the Mockingbird media. Fox News, to be fair, touched on it, but then they fired Tucker Carlson. And there are people there who still will touch on this. Laura Ingraham is pretty good on that. Your donation allows us to be very difficult to cancel.
There is a 24-year-old Navy vet. He was discharged because he had heart problems. He could no longer complete PT, physical training. He could no longer complete the physical tests. So they discharged him, 24 years old, kicked him out. These health problems, you can't be active duty Navy and have a heart problem. You could have a heart attack doing your job. By the way, the heart attack, he didn't have a heart attack, thank God, but the myocarditis he had came from the injections. He's one of the many people injured by the COVID shots, which are gene sequencing devices. It's not mRNA. It's modified RNA. It
hijacks your body. It turns it into a poison production factory. I'm not exaggerating. The spike protein is the most dangerous part of the virus, and the mRNA, the modified RNA, turns your body into a machine that produces that poison. Sometimes it never stops. There's been a huge change. 6 U.S. senators have sent a letter to the Department of Veterans Affairs investigating why they're denying disability claims for people injured by the injections. Even though it's clear it came from the injections, the timing, there was no heart problems, then there's the injections, now there's heart problems. I'm here to tell you, I know personally of 2 elite military members. One of them a Navy SEAL. The other, a level up from that. One of the most elite groups of SEALs. About this guy's age. They failed PT. Well, one of them failed by dying during the physical test. The other can no longer walk up steps without having to catch his breath. Have you heard this in the Mockingbird media? No. When you donate at AFR, you're donating to a network with an audience of 1, God Almighty, and a family of many. That's all of us. You call 877-616-2396. Do you remember this? This is from a woman named Kiera Butler, a senior editor at Mother Jones. This is an actual headline from May 12, 2020. Ready? Anti-vaxxers have a dangerous theory called, quote, natural immunity, end quote. Now it's going mainstream. And then in a scare italicized quote, your body's an amazing being. It knows how to take care of itself. What a weird theory that our bodies have immunity to and colds. That would mean that when we have a sliver that contains bacteria, we don't die. Oh, that's right. God did design it that way. Your investment in AFR is an investment in a network that will talk about our military members being injured by these injections, that will talk about pilots being injured by these injections.